All right, let's move on from lesson 1 to lesson 2. This is energy in ecosystems. Okay, so what are the energy roles in an ecosystem? The sun is the source of energy for all living things. So all of our energy comes from the sun. Every organism has a specific role in the movement of energy through its ecosystem. And we'll talk about that in detail. These energy roles are based on the way organisms obtain their food and interact with other organisms. So the roles are producers, consumers, and decomposers. Okay, so let's start with producers. Those are organisms such as plants that capture the sun's energy and use that as a way to obtain their food. So they use the sun's energy to make their food during photosynthesis. So producers get their source from the sun itself. So those producers become the source of food for other organisms. So producers get their source of food from the sun, and then those producers become the source of food for other organisms. Okay, and then next is consumers. They obtain energy by feeding on other organisms. So the consumer is eating either the producer or they're eating other consumers. And those are broken down into categories that classify consumers according to what they eat. So those can be carnivores, scavengers, herbivores, or omnivores. Okay, so let's talk about carnivores and scavengers. They consume only animals, so they eat only animals. Examples are these great white sharks, owls, tigers, and a scavenger is a type of carnivore that feeds on only dead organisms. So instead of eating live animals, they eat dead scraps of dead organisms or dead animals. So an example of these are spotted hyenas and turkey vultures. Okay, so moving on to herbivores. Those are consumers that eat only plants and other photosynthetic organisms. So an example of these are grasshoppers, rabbits, and cows. So they only eat the producers. Herbivores only eat producers. And then there are omnivores. Those are consumers that eat both plants and animals. So example of these are pigs, raccoons, and humans. So you may say humans can sometimes be vegan and can only eat producers. But humans can actually eat both. They just are choosing not to eat animals. Okay? So omnivores, they can eat both plants and animals. So humans, we have a choice. We could eat both. We could eat or just one. So next, there's decomposers. They break down the biotic waste and the dead organisms. And they return important matter like carbon and nitrogen, which is building blocks of life, and they return it back into the ecosystem. So they're like the natural recyclers. They're breaking down the biotic waste and those dead organisms and returning the carbon and nitrogen back into the ecosystem to be used again. Okay, and that's it. Thank you for watching. A really quick intro to the energy of ecosystems.